There are 4 types of unlocking characters in Soul Knight. Gems, the basic characters, achievements, the basic characters 12 Pro Max, real-life money, the meta or quirky characters, and finally, whatever the robot is trying to be. However, there is a 5th secret batch of characters that are considered the most prestigious. Characters so unique and powerful that they can't be picked all the time, and require thousands of gems to unlock and a ton of materials to even view. The legendary characters. Unique buffs that can be obtained elsewhere, some of the most quirky abilities and primary weapons, these are the most unique characters in Soul Knight. Yet also considered the worst and the least popular.
Know your fucking place, trash!
These characters were made to be popular and loved, yet they're barely talked about or even named. Seeing a legendary character main in the wild is like seeing a shoebill fly. Yes, it is that rare. Even the custom prints made more of an impact onto the game than the legendary character, which is weird to think about. In fact, we haven't had any new legendary characters since July of last year. What happened? Why are these characters suddenly collecting dust in most people's lobbies? Well, let's now talk about the most prestigious characters in Soul Knight. Usually, at first explain the character and their stats in detail, then I'll tell you the problem or the meat of the video. But let's do things differently this time. Not only because this single problem is probably 50% of why they are unpopular, but also because we're talking about 5 characters here, homie. And in this day and age, my friend, I worry for your attention span. The legendary heroes probably have the most tedious unlocking method in all of Soul Knight. First, you have to fully upgrade 2 characters for hero. 2 specific characters for each hero, by the way. 2 of the 8 require real-life money, and 1 of them requires an achievement. That is 17,800 gems for each character, in addition to whatever gems or money you spend to get the character in the first place. We're not done, because then you have to spend even more gems to get the items for crafting, 10,000 to be exact, which then you have to go and spend even more gems crafting the item to get the legendary artifact, which you can then enter the dungeon with and transform into the legendary hero. Overall, this costs close to 40,000 plus the cost of the characters. This price is ridiculously high. A regular character takes around 20 to 30,000 to purchase and fully upgrade, including their gem price. Now, sure, the legendary characters are fully upgraded from the get-go, but which would you rather have? Something that is mediocre without upgrades that you can make more powerful as you upgrade and get experience with, or something that is at its best power from the get-go but you don't have any time to familiarize yourself with it, nor can you improve it over time. God, this feels like a PC versus console debate. You wanna know what's the worst part? This is 40k gems for one playthrough. If you want to play them again, you have to build a simple wave conductor, which costs all this. But it doesn't stop there. Even when you unlock the characters, even when you get the conductor, even then, yes, even then, you have to wait for it to charge, which it does by playing and winning games. And if you don't want to wait for charge, don't worry, you can just craft their item and play them again, costing even more gems. Meaning that the cost of a single legendary character is now this, for 2 playthroughs. Need I remind you that a normal character costs at most 30,000 gems and you can play them forever. Ever since my first video, I made it a point to always use badass footage in order to drive home the points I'm making with better examples. But I just couldn't with these guys. I don't want to risk this amount of materials in a badass setting, so not even freaking content making is enough to make someone like me play these characters. Now any sane person would look at this and say, well, this just suffices. This price is really high, but that should mean the characters are all overpowered and really fun to play, right? Right? Well, we might as well get into that, because buddy, I have some news for you. I want to start with the Beheaded because it's the easiest character to obtain, only requiring you to kill enemies while having the 7-8 bed, and I also have the least to say about it. It's a decently bulky character when it comes to health, and has a frying pan that costs energy but stuns on critical hit chance and parries for half a second when you pull it out like in PUBG. Its passive is having an owl pet that follows you around, dealing 20 damage per attack, but doesn't draw aggro. This passive has some good damage, don't get me wrong, but pets throwing aggro is probably their most useful feature since they always regenerate. Not throwing them is basically having a more reliable version of the Tao's passive, which isn't bad mind you, just that it's not really anything to take note of either. It's also disabled for 3 seconds when you take health damage for some reason. Generally I have no idea why. Its skill is funny though. You move forward with iframes of course, dealing damage to an enemy and stunning them, and dealing more damage when they hit a wall or another monster who will also receive that damage. Aside from the funny kick sound and the hilarious ragdolls, his ability is decently fine in the first world or so, but it falls off really quickly, and it doesn't scale well at all when enemies can survive the kick. Sure, you have iframes, which means the character can't be in F tier, that's just how it works, iframes are really good, but the fact that it's stationary while casting doesn't really help its case. Yes, the airbender is also stationary, but he's fighting an ultra beam of death. You gotta compare that to someone making someone eat a foot. The thing is, with the weapon being a pan and the ridiculous sound effects, it was clear this guy is more of a joke than anything. And I don't mean that in a bad way, it's the best type of joke. Walking around with a pan and your only skill being a fucking kick is hilarious. And something about knocking enemies into a wall so hard that you make wall art with their grey matter makes characters, no matter how shite, extremely fun. With its bad stats and lackluster passive, it is held back. But still, nothing against this guy. He's really good. He's a really good fun time. Oh, by the way, this thing actually got some sick lore. It's actually from another game altogether called Dead Cells. Check it out, link in the description. Pretty cool read, and oh, the game is also amazing.
Nothing personnel, kid.
Now we're going to start being more critical, seeing how serious the next few characters are. So expect less jokes and justifications and more Soul Knight Discord moment. The time travel ninja has the same overall health as the assassin with a similar melee weapon. The catch is that every third attack produces a forward slash that costs energy. Nothing too crazy, but its range and damage as is make it worth keeping for the first world or so. Her passive is striking a melee attack when she comes close to a target. This ability has a cooldown, which isn't shown anywhere on your screen unfortunately. Her skill is throwing this shuriken that deals damage on its way and where it stands. Pressing the skill again teleports you to its location, with iframes by the way. Once again, iframes make her automatically good, especially since the shuriken can go over walls when thrown. It's a good escape tool to get out, or an engage tool alongside with her passive. You can even leave it on the side chilling while you go in ham with your weapon, not caring about losing too much armor because you can leave at any time. There is a catch however. The problem is, holy frick, this character gets dicked over by Soul Knight's auto-aim more than the fucking airbender. The shuriken gets thrown where you're aiming, not moving. So if you get into trouble and try to use it to get out, guess what? Unless you can get out of line of sight, your ass is going back in. It also has a really lengthy cooldown from iframe's ability. It has a cooldown of 3 seconds, but you have to also account for the travel time of a shuriken, the time you will spend before teleporting, and so on. So realistically, it's not up for long. And remember that the iframes is very brief. So even then, it's not really great as an iframe's ability. Don't get me wrong, she's not terrible. In fact, outside of the Beheaded, the time traveling ninja is the least flawed of the legendary characters. However, her melee weapon isn't something insane, nor is her passive that reliable or has any scaling, meaning she's outshined by the assassin, which makes sense considering he's her grandpa, but that's besides the point. She's a decent iframes character and a close quarter character, but she clashes with other characters' gameplay a lot to be anything of note, including the newly released Mine. Especially since the rogue's second skill is basically the entire kit of the ninja but better, and he's a basic character. That being said, she's still my favorite of the serious legendary characters, so take my defense for her with a grain of salt. Now, how about a move from a character that was made with a safe design in mind into something that is a bit more wild?
貴様の拳など顔どにも効かんわい。お前はもう死んでいる。何？もうは匠できれぶ。
If the wizard is the squishy character of Soul Knight, this fucker needs a sign that says fragile on his back. He has two... Oh, wait. I died. Let me just try this again. Oh, come on. Okay, I got it this time. I got it. Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay, I got it. He has 2 hearts, 3 armor, and 21 energy. No, you didn't mishear that. 2 hearts, 3 armor, and 21 energy. He has a grand total of 5 health points overall, and he can only shoot weapons like this for literally 1 time, if not less. Yeah, if you couldn't tell, if you get hit as much as 1 time with this guy, Chili Room themselves would have to take out the character from the game for a couple of weeks to let him recover. Luckily, he has his passive and skill to help him out. Every 1.5 seconds, you become invincible for 1.5 seconds. Yeah, that's the passive, just iframes without doing anything. You become invincible for longer if you kill a target, 2 seconds to be exact. And the skill has you dashing with iframes above surfaces like the Taoist third skill, marking enemies for guaranteed death. Yes, while others dash and deal damage, the Interdimensional Traveler runs past enemies so fast their molecules cease to exist from our universe.
Into the eternal damnation of the forever void, bound to watch the universe as they know it collapse for billions of lifetimes. In 8 seconds.
Assuming your ass just doesn't shoot them within that time frame anyways, which God knows you will, 8 seconds straight up is too long to kill. Any weapon could kill faster. It also deals measly 8 damage to bosses, which is hard, until you realize that the airbender's little laser does more than triple that. When you get to the stages where you take more than 8 seconds to kill something, other characters would have scaled to be able to kill faster than 8 seconds anyway. Notice how you only have 21 energy, meaning you can only use your primary zero energy weapon, which deals continuous damage in the projectile's path. A decent weapon, but nothing against the late game weapons, which you can't access due to your energy cap. All this means that you can't deviate from the normal gameplay. All you can do is just use your weapon from cover, go in when your skill is up, mark everyone, dodge their attacks with your passive, and repeat. The whole point of evader/iframe characters is that they have a defensive tool already available for them so that they can play however they want, defensively or offensively. But this guy must play in a specific way, thanks to his energy limit and, being more fragile than the immune system of a child in the Victorian era. Basically, the Interdimensional Traveler is just the lazy version of the rogue. I understand if you're so lazy that you got saggier butt cheeks than Monk Pixie, but even then, you could have just played easy iframes characters like Trap Master with a second skill or the reworked Custom Knight, or played defense characters like the Paladin and Vampire. There's just no reason to play this ultimately restricting cycle if all you want to do is dodge. Not only that, but he's freaking hard to play. At least the rogue has 2 other skills for people who don't want to stare at the screen so hard for incoming bullets to press the skill, aka anyone with a father figure. This guy, however, you play on eggshells, standing on spikes that are barely balanced on the rope. On a bigger eggshell.
What?
Overall, repetitive playstyle, boring, restricted, seems sad, but really it's just the lazy rogue. That being said, if you mean this guy, more power to you. It takes a lot of skill, the reward is not high, but hey, he's kinda fun. And honestly, most IDT mains are chill about it. As chill as someone can be when they gotta pay to play their favorite character. The biggest letdown in the entirety of Soul Knight. They have really high armor and decent health. Yes, they. Let's explain the skill. When you press it, you swap character, swapping between the Green Knight, Blue Knight, and Red Knight. The NJ does different things depending on the knight, but they all do have iframes when doing them. The Red Knight strikes down all enemies like the Assassin, has a throwable dagger as a starter weapon, and shoots projectiles when he swings melee weapons or for a passive, kind of like this attachment. Blue Knight spawns with meteors, has magic projectiles for a starter, and has bonus magic damage as a passive. And the Green Knight enters fighting all around him. He has a 3-round burst rifle for a starter, and his passive increases firing speed for all weapons. You wanna know what sucks about this incredibly creative idea? The whole 3 characters gimmick, the only unique thing about them that could be fun? Yeah, it's bullcrap, it doesn't exist. A character in Soul Knight is the passive, skill, and starter, but since the skill in this thing is to switch to another character with some iframes and damage, none of them really have a skill. They all just share 1 iframes and damage, that's it, which is a skill not only far outshined by every other iframes character, but even the other 2, nay 3 legendary characters we just talked about. You won't feel a difference between each character because you don't have a skill, you just switch between the characters themselves. And since it's iframes, you use this in the oh shit situation, where you are about to get hit by a lot of bullets. So you don't even have a choice of how to play most of the time. The starter weapon is probably the worst starter weapon in the entirety of Soul Knight. On Green, it's decent, especially with his passive, but its damage amounts to nothing but a grey tier SMG really. Blue's orbs are weaker than the code, aka Wizard's starter, and that weapon is already weaker than a condom in a high school anime. And probably the biggest offender, the Red's weapon, isn't even a melee weapon. It doesn't synergize with his passive at all. At least the Rogue starter can be used as a melee close range, this can't for whatever reason. In fact, the passive requires 3 weapons. A melee for red if you want to feel his passive, a rifle for green since SMGs are worthless with fire rate buffs, they already have a high fire rate, and a staff for blue, meaning to even play these guys you need the 3 weapons buff, and find these 3 weapons, which isn't guaranteed, or even a good buff for that matter, and you can only play one of them depending on what knight is active, which would make keeping the starter weapon a smart choice since it should interact with all 3, if it actually fucking interacted. Look, basically, this character is ass. It has some really nice exterior, but once you look at them and you're stuck playing the shittiest iframe character since the Paladin's stash. If you need a specific special operative, you have to go through the skill at least twice. The starter weapon is inconsistent, you could always need iframes and then realize you're on a bad operative for your weapon. Yeah, they just suck. It pissed me off too, because I really love their concept. Despite this, despite being one of the biggest disappointments in all of Soul Knight and having no real cohesive design, they're actually not the worst legendary characters, because this thing exists.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. All right. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something.
Do I really need to talk about this guy? Fine. Look, this guy's bad. Like, really bad. I made two 10-minute plus videos talking about these two characters being bad, but this is its own definition of terrible. Let's look at the upsides. Alright, now let's look at the downside. But he has the highest amount of energy in the game and he naturally generates energy, so that's an upside, right? No, it isn't. Because if something has a high energy requirement that 200 isn't enough, what makes you think an additional hash to that is going to help? Only a reactor will help you in that case. Besides, it's very easy to restore energy in Soul Knight regardless of the character. Killing enemies restores energy. Opening room chests restores energy. Getting bosses to have health restores energy. The basic pet restores energy. Destroying crates restores energy. Staring at your wife was in the lobby restores energy. Unless your loadout looks like this, the energy isn't as serious of a problem as you might expect. He has barely any health, which isn't great because it doesn't have any form of defensibility or iframes. His skill is spawning a pillar that deals damage to nearby enemies every 2.5 seconds and has a chance to apply a freeze, burn, or stun. Making multiples of them makes them chain to apply multiple elemental effects. Remember how I called the officer's third skill Shitty Alchemist? We'll consider this guy as Shitty Alchemist, the character. The pillars barely deal any damage and the debuffs isn't guaranteed, it's only a chance, as they have a really slow attack speed. Having many of them doesn't matter because of their low attack speed, and the fact that their chain mechanic makes it more valuable to contest them in areas, which is not a situation you'll find yourself more often, means that you will not have them spread out, which they should be. They can block attacks, sure, but really what ability doesn't do that at this point? He's also the one legendary character without iframes. Now just because a character doesn't have iframes doesn't mean it's bad, much to the dismay of the Soul Knight's Discord, but he has literally no damage or utility to make up for it. Yeah, he can apply a freeze, but it's not guaranteed. Yeah, his damage can be high if he has the right buffs, but what can't? His weapon is also just straight up tedious. It's like a pseudo bow and arrow where you charge and create an explosion to a target enemy, which can potentially stun, freeze, or burn. Such an innovative design. It's not like that's the gimmick of literally every other normal character ever. And with the custom prints release, there is literally nothing here. With inconsistent damage and small blast radius, it's not worth it, man. His entire character is just straight up not worth it. His passive is good. It's an immunity to fire and freeze, which is two passives you need for War 3, but ever since they added these pickups in War 3, having the elemental resistances become not as essential as they once was, indirectly nursing this guy further than he was already at the gutter. And besides, they actually don't prevent these buffs from showing up in the buff options, meaning that they're actually wasting buffs options for you. Like, Engineer isn't even the best character, right? How the hell did they make a worse one is beyond me. He's weaker than Outfuck is the point. Now that we're done explaining each one and their problems, the problem with legendary heroes becomes very obvious, with their tedious unlocking method being average at best and downright shite at worst, and the straight up frustrating charging mechanic, it's no wonder nobody wants to play with them. You have to put in so much effort to play something that is not only restricted, but also incredibly weak and outclassed by the basic characters. If you want to play Time Travel Ninja, play Assassin or Miner or the Rogue with the second skill. If you want to play Special Forces, play Wizard, Assassin or Berserker with the third skill, or just wait for the changed characters condition. If you want to play the Beheaded, just play third skill Werewolf, Airbender. If you want to play Interdimensional Traveler, play Assassin, Rogue or Tywist with the third skill. And if you want to play Element Envoy, please seek a Psychiatrist. There is nothing legendary about it. That's why they have been forgotten. You can't even get skins or unlock other skills for them, bro, okay? Come on. Well, now that we established these guys are as legendary as those legendary Valorant bundles that just include terrible weapon skins, could they be fixed? Yes, but not just with stats. I think they need some reworks. First things first, for every character, I think a legendary hero should have two basic buffs instead of just one. Their regular passive, plus a side passive from the game's buffs. They are unique after all, and I think it will help out their linear playstyle. Additionally, specific changes would be needed. For the Time Traveling Ninja, she should get the increased melee range. She's honestly somewhat fine, but hear me out. What if she had a satisfying combo with her passive and skill? What if you get a kill with her passive, her skill is refreshed, and if you get a kill with her skill, the passive is hit, creating this ping-pong playstyle that somewhat mirrors the assassin's first skill. I think it'll be fun. Also, give her the passive timer like it was in her island to help us know when it's ready. For the Interdimensional Traveler, he should get the gain energy on kill buff so that he can actually use another weapon, and his passive should have a timer like I suggested with the ninja. And maybe make his skill take less time to kill if he's on a killing speed, like that one challenge condition. Like the more kills he gets in the last few seconds, the faster his kill kills, so that he has some sort of scaling. I also think it could be cool if the skill got reworked against bosses. Maybe it still one-shots them, but on a 25-second death timer instead of 8, but drops your HP and armor just to 1, so that if you don't get hit at all during the 25 seconds, you automatically win. Will be challenging, but fun. For the Beheaded, I think the character is fine as is as a meme, but if you do have to buff it, which I think we do, maybe give it the increased max health buff and make its kick restore health when it gets a kill. For special forces, give them the 3 weapons buff so they can actually use their passive, and maybe make it so that they have 3 different skill buttons, each dedicated to a specific operative. That way, you don't have to use the skill multiple times to get to the operative you need. It actually feels like 3 characters instead of just one with a shitty passive and a shittier weapon. Speaking of which, actually make the weapons correct. Make the dagger act as a melee, make the glove actually deal meaningful damage, and make the rifle hit harder to make use of the fire rate buff. As for the element Envoy, you just rework the guy from the ground up, he's hopeless. Well then, this was exhausting to make. 5 characters at once was sure a challenge, and I thank you for sticking to the end. I'm sorry that it took so long to make this video. It was challenging, and I also had to redo the audio. It was a whole scene. I'm glad I'm done with this video because honestly, making 3 videos back to back about negative things just made me realize how much more I enjoyed talking about the positive things, and how much funnier these videos can be. So I can now confidently say that the next few videos will not be negative. Hopefully. Thanks for watching, and thanks for all the support on my content and all the comments. Sorry for taking so long with this one, again. And I'd appreciate if you drop a like and subscribe to the channel to help me out. I have a lot more videos planned for the future, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching and see you next time.